Ferrari has big upgrades for their home race. McLaren reveals even more upgrades as they go all out on both titles, and Lewis Hamilton blasts Russell. Red Bull team principal Christian Horner has aimed a dig at Toto Wolff over his pursuit of Max Verstappen, claiming the Mercedes W15 car did not perform that well in the Dutch Grand Prix. Mercedes have been persistently linked with an ambitious move for Verstappen, with Wolff commenting that he would love to have the reigning three-time world champion in one of his cars. With Verstappen contracted with Red Bull until the end of the 2028 season, however, Mercedes appear to have ended their interest in the Dutchman for the near future. Multiple reports over recent weeks have indicated that Mercedes are set to promote teenage sensation Andrea Kimi Antonelli as George Russell's new teammate, with an announcement expected ahead of this weekend's Italian Grand Prix at Monza. Wolff has been searching for a replacement for Lewis Hamilton after the seven-time world champion announced earlier this year that he will leave Mercedes to join Ferrari on a multi-year contract from F1 2025. It remains to be seen whether Mercedes will renew their interest in Verstappen ahead of F1's major regulation changes in 2026, for which the team's preparations are said to be advanced. With Verstappen winning 3 of the last 10 races as a result of Red Bull's mid-season struggles, however, it has been suggested that the 26-year-old may have considered a switch to Mercedes as soon as next year. Asked if he was ever seriously concerned about losing Verstappen for F1 2025, Horner told media after the race at Zandvoort, "I find it surprising how much discussion in the open media there is about this topic. The situation was always clear between ourselves and Max, and I think that others can talk, but we're comfortable with where we're at." Put to him that Red Bull's current form could sway Verstappen's thinking over his future at the team, Horner could not resist a jab at former title rivals Mercedes, and he insisted that Verstappen is likely to remain with Red Bull as long as the team continue to deliver to a high standard. He replied, "It's down to us to deliver. We have an agreement until 2028, so it's down to us to deliver. I didn't see Toto's car performing that well. 2028 is a long way away. It's down to us to provide a race-winning car. Every contract has a performance clause element in it. We're not going to talk about what those elements are, but as long as we provide a competitive car, we know what the situation is." Toto Wolff believes 2 factors contributed to Mercedes' poor performance at the Dutch Grand Prix, with the team left with a shortage of data to inform setup decisions at Zandvoort. Having won 3 of the 4 races leading into the F1 2024 summer break, Mercedes had been hoping to build on their recent form as the season resumed in the Netherlands. However, the team endured their most challenging weekend for some months at Zandvoort, with George Russell and Lewis Hamilton qualifying 4th and 11th, respectively. Russell was unable to keep up with the frontrunners on race day and slipped back to 7th, 1 place ahead of teammate Hamilton. Mercedes' limp performance came after the team reintroduced their Belgian Grand Prix upgrade, which had been removed after Friday practice at Spa last month after providing inconclusive results, 2 days before Hamilton claimed victory with the previous spec W15. Speaking to media after the race, Wolff acknowledged that Mercedes' decision to compare the different specifications on Friday at Zandvoort had left the team with a lack of meaningful data. And that was exacerbated by the interrupted practice sessions on Friday and Saturday mornings, with Logan Sargent's crash in wet conditions wiping out much of FP3. He said, "I think it was 2 factors. We back-to-backed the update kit on Friday, which in the end left us with not a lot of data. The update kit that we put onto the car at Spa on Friday and then took off again. And then obviously with the lack of running like everybody else, maybe it didn't decide the right things for the car, so there could be a few factors in play that contributed to this non-performance." Wolff went on to confirm that the W15 that did not resemble the car that brought so much success to Mercedes prior to the summer break, sharing his suspicion that a major factor was behind the team's underperformance at Zandvoort. And he stressed the need for the team to sort it out in time for this weekend's Italian Grand Prix at Monza. He explained, "I think these cars are sometimes a surprise box. We've had 6 races with podiums in a row, and that doesn't look like the car 3 weeks ago that was 1st and 2nd at Spa, at least 1st on merit after Russell was disqualified for being underweight. You can't really end up with a result like this without any major factor playing, and that's something we need to analyze in the next few days until Monza. Was it because we put something on the car that didn't help? Did we engineer something into the car that wasn't good? Then how do you justify these swings of performance? Sometimes we looked really good this weekend, and then obviously today, in terms of degradation, That was not very impressive. I don't want to jump to conclusions too quickly because we're going to look at it the coming days and hopefully trying to find clues in the data. Was it a setup? Was it the track? What is it that we got wrong? Was it the floor that we put on the car? Was it all of this together? Hopefully we can sort it out for Monza and become competitive again, but the swing in performance from P1, P2 on the road at Spa to P7, P8 at Zandvoort suggests there's a biggie in there. It's not something that was simply a setup decision in my opinion. Helmut Marko has revealed that Red Bull has something in the works to respond to the growing threat posed by McLaren, admitting Max Verstappen's title is at risk in F1 2024. After a dominant start to the F1 2024 season, Red Bull has struggled over recent months with Verstappen, limited to just 3 victories in the last 10 races. Despite taking the lead at the start of Sunday's Dutch Grand Prix at Zandvoort, Verstappen was unable to stop Lando Norris taking his second victory of the campaign by a massive 22.8 seconds, the biggest margin of victory so far in F1 2024. Verstappen's lead over Norris has been reduced to 70 points ahead of the final 9 races, with McLaren now just 30 behind Red Bull in the Constructors' Championship. Marko fears the urgency for Red Bull to respond to McLaren's pace is growing, admitting the team need to find something to retake the initiative in the title race. And he has teased that Red Bull has plans in place to improve the RB20 car as the World Championship run intensifies. Norris now has the speed needed to catch Max in the championship, Marko is quoted as saying by the Dutch F1 reporter Joost Nederpelt. We need to find something. There's something in the works, but McLaren is very fast. Marko's comments come after Verstappen's father Jos urged Red Bull to take a good look in the mirror after losing their way with the development of the RB20, with his son in for a really tough end to the year as he looks to seal a 4th consecutive world championship. Verstappen Sr. told Dutch publication De Telegraaf following the Dutch GP. Maybe I shouldn't say it, but I'm doing it anyway. The fact that you have to go back to the car from the beginning of this year says enough. They just don't have it right here at the moment. I think they should take a good look in the mirror. Max knew this was coming. He just didn't have a chance. This way, it's going to be really tough the rest of the year. Max is doing everything he can, but doesn't have the material to finish it. It was already exceptional that he qualified second. Speaking to media after the race, meanwhile, Red Bull team principal Christian Horner claimed it will be very difficult for Verstappen to retain his title if Norris and McLaren can replicate their Dutch Grand Prix performance across the final 9 races. He said, based on today's performance, if it's like that at the next 9 races, yes, it would be very, very difficult. It's the 4th time this year, only the 4th time that Max's points lead is reduced. It's only Lando's second win, but we know we have to find performance. So we were 78 points in front. Now we're 70 ahead. We want to make sure that we extend the lead, not see it continually diminish. Charles Leclerc surprised the field, himself included, by taking 3rd place last Sunday. Ferrari anticipated a far more difficult race in Zandvoort, with the SF24 outperforming initial projections. However, the team's next upgrade package in Monza will determine if they can win races moving forward. At the beginning of the Dutch GP weekend, the narrative surrounding Ferrari was relatively gloomy. However, Leclerc and Sainz achieved a significant step forward on Sunday, consistently setting times that kept McLaren and Red Bull honest. This result is a welcome boost for Ferrari after months of losing ground to their rivals. Yesterday's podium finish also supports Fred Vasseur's relentless optimism. The 56-year-old believes the team's recent dip in form is only a blip and expects a return to their race-winning pace in the near future. According to Vasseur, there is no reason why Ferrari cannot fight for the championship. Red Bull dominated at the beginning, he told Corriere della Sera. Then we did well, then McLaren, and finally Mercedes. It will be a roller coaster until the end. I think we are already fighting for the World Championship this year. We won races, so the potential is there despite some mistakes. And in any case, the development of the 2025 Ferrari is proceeding well, he added. Ferrari's next upgrades are scheduled for this weekend's Italian GP. The Italian outfit looks to make a statement on home soil. As evidenced by McLaren's latest package, progress in the development race can instantly deliver huge results. With the top 4 teams so closely matched, a matter of tenths makes all the difference. Despite struggling for pace all weekend, Ferrari secured a strong result at the Dutch GP. With this in mind, The Maranello-based team must work to continue maximizing their results. Perhaps more importantly, Vasseur's team will hope their upgrades give them more to work with. Assuming Ferrari can compensate for their mid-season hiccup, they can return to regularly contending for victories. As Red Bull stagnates, there is still a chance for the Italian squad to progress in the Constructors' Championship. Lando Norris claimed his second career victory at the Dutch GP, almost 10 races after his debut win in Miami. Although Norris is still over 70 points behind Verstappen in the standings, McLaren's pace is ominous. The upgrades introduced this weekend were effective, further increasing the MCL38's advantage over Red Bull. As Andrea Stella told the media post-race, McLaren have no intention of slowing down. After bringing a massive update package at the beginning of the season, McLaren went several months without major changes. The priority at the Woking factory was to optimize the MCL38 before making any modifications. McLaren's strategy for 2024 was always to collect data and have complete certainty before aggressively developing upgrades after the summer break. Despite their long stretch without significant updates, the Woking-based operation were comfortably the fastest team even before this weekend. However, their latest package has put them at an even bigger advantage. The updates brought to Zandvoort were significant, featuring a series of alterations to the suspension and floor. Speaking after today's victory, McLaren team principal Andrea Stella revealed that more upgrades are incoming. The former Ferrari engineer stressed the importance of developing a car capable of winning races at all types of circuits. Whilst many observers would argue McLaren are already at this stage, Stella wants to erase any doubt. He explains that more updates are in production to make the MCL38 an even more well-rounded machine. This clarity and drive for progress represent the opposite of Red Bull's situation. Max Verstappen will not see any significant upgrades anytime soon, with the reigning champions failing to unlock more performance from the RB20. Red Bull are even resorting to using old specifications from the very start of 2024. Andrea Stella is eager for his personnel to exploit this stagnation of Christian Horner's team. Of course, McLaren are not the only team working to improve. Ferrari will have a large upgrade package at the upcoming Italian GP, intended to put the SF24 back on track. Whether these changes are enough to upset Lando Norris and Oscar Piastri's advantage in machinery is still unlikely. For McLaren, the objective is no longer to catch the fastest team. They are now in a very different position, focusing on creating more distance to Red Bull and Ferrari. Steady upgrades can be expected in the remaining 9 rounds of the year. With the championship now on the line, even the smallest signs of improved performance from the wind tunnel will be implemented on track. Christian Horner admits 9 more races like the Dutch Grand Prix will make it very difficult for Max Verstappen to keep hold of the driver's title F1 2024. But he insisted that the dominant performance of Lando Norris and McLaren at Zandvoort did not scare Red Bull. Having seen their margin of dominance dissipate in F1 2024, Red Bull were looking for a response at the Dutch Grand Prix, the first race back after the summer break. When Verstappen snatched the lead from Norris at the start, the signs were very promising indeed, but Norris responded to devastating effect. On lap 18, Norris reclaimed the Dutch GP lead from Verstappen and would soon disappear up the road, eventually winning the race by 23 seconds, the largest victory margin so far in F1 2024. With Norris also claiming that fastest lap bonus point for a perfect 26-point haul, he reduced Verstappen's Drivers' Championship lead to 70 points with 9 races remaining. But is it too late to mount a title challenge? If Norris keeps that form up, Horner believes Verstappen's 4th successive title is far from a done deal. Asked by media if he is now worried that Norris can catch Verstappen for the Drivers' Championship, Horner replied, "Based on today's performance, if it's like that at the next 9 races, yes, it would be very, very difficult. It's the 4th time this year, only the 4th time that Max's points lead is reduced. It's only Lando's 2nd win, but we know we have to find performance. So we were 78 points in front, now we're 70 ahead. We want to make sure that we extend the lead, not see it continually diminish." But while such a comprehensive defeat is not fun to take, Horner said what Norris and McLaren produced does not scare Red Bull, rather it focuses the mind on needing to find a response. Asked if we may now see more of Verstappen driving with defending of the title in mind, Horner responded, "I think that you've got to drive with the championship in mind. There's been 7 different race winners this year, so if you can't win, then you've got to be scoring the points. Obviously, it's not nice to be beaten by 22 seconds, but it just shows when you get things right and your car in the window, as we saw earlier in the year, that kind of result is possible. So it doesn't scare us in any way. It just focuses the mind that, okay, we need to turn this around and we need to get it right. I think that McLaren obviously made a step a little while ago, and their car here, particularly with Lando, was very impressive, very impressive. So we need to understand where and address our deficit. Red Bull also saw their Constructors' Championship lead over McLaren further cut to 30 points. Had he started up there with George Russell at the Dutch Grand Prix, Lewis Hamilton reckons a podium was not out of the question. The race winner last time out in Belgium, Hamilton was a shock Q2 casualty at Zandvoort, his race weekend worsening further when he received a 3-place grid penalty for impeding Red Bull's Sergio Perez. That left him P14 on the grid. Hamilton went on to deliver a solid recovery drive, crossing the line P8 as teammate George Russell dropped from 4th on the grid to a P7 finish. And if Hamilton had started where Russell did, he felt challenging for a podium could have been possible. "I was much happier today, I was moving forwards," Hamilton declared to Sky F1. "I think ultimately the car felt better. Even though I had a lot of understeer in FP1, the car felt really great, and even for FP2. And then we made this change overnight because we had so much understeer, and then it just flipped it on its knife edge. It just flipped it onto the other side. So we backed up a bunch of wing for the race, and I was progressing. I felt like I was moving in the right direction, but just too far back, unfortunately. So I think if I had qualified where George was, I would have finished at least there, if not further ahead. I think we could have been close to the podium today. I don't know whether or not we were faster than the Ferraris, but there were elements of our pace which was really, really strong. But the car was not great compared to the last race. We had a lot more pace in the last race. Today we were a lot closer to others. Next up is the Italian Grand Prix at Monza, an event which Hamilton has won 5 times, giving him the joint record alongside Ferrari icon Michael Schumacher. And this will be Hamilton's first visit to Monza since his blockbuster Ferrari F1 2025 move was announced. However, when asked by media if he looks forward to the race weekend with that Ferrari move announced, Hamilton said he simply looks forward to it as an opportunity to do better than the nightmare Zandvoort race weekend. "I mean, I only just look forward to next weekend because I had a Spackens weekend this weekend," he said, "and I'm looking forward to trying to do better next weekend." That's it for today's video. I'll see you in the next one.